welcome back. Today we're going to do a guitar tutorial for Here Ever After. Now in this video series, I take you through the entire song, not just teaching you how to play the parts, but giving you some tips on tone, production, and techniques that are used so that you can better understand how to play it and also get an idea for how the song was created. As always, at the end of the video, there will be a backing track for you to practice along to. I'm encountering some copyright issues with these backing tracks, so in order to get around that, I've set up a Patreon page where you can go to download the tabs that we use today or use a backing track that's customized to the type of instrument that you play. I'm new to Patreon, so if you've got any other suggestions for the sort of value that I could bring you on that platform, please let me know because I'm interested to see what sort of things I could do on there. So look, I'm not someone that normally gets hung up on accuracy. It's definitely not the most important thing when you're trying to recreate these songs. But man, I spent an hour trying to find someone who could play this song correctly, and I didn't come across anyone who had it correct. I even started to doubt myself and my own ears, but luckily we now have footage of John playing it live, and I was able to confirm that this indeed is the correct way to play the song. A lot of these channels, I think, are just trying to get their video out as fast as possible and really struggled with hearing the harmonic content that comes with some of these guitar parts. So we'll go over that as we go through the parts. So I'm using my Fender Duosonic for this song, mostly because I don't have a Strat. Well, technically I do, but I was trying to build one myself, which is another story. But the Duosonic, the neck pickup sounds very similar to a Stratocaster, and it has a two-way switch on the bridge pickup, so if you want a humbucker sound, you've got that versatility there as well. I really love this guitar. We've used it for so many different things over the years. So if you're looking for a budget option for a Stratocaster, I would highly recommend that you try out the Duosonic. I used the Fender Bassman amplifier for this track. So the Bassman has a really clean, punchy tone, and when you crank it loud, it turns into this really fuzzy, overdriven sounding amplifier. So Jimi Hendrix used this amp a fair bit in the studio, and apparently the original Marshall amplifiers were modeled off the Fender Bassman, so there's some similarities there as well. Ultimately, the amplifier that you use won't matter too much for this song. Most of the tone is coming from the Boss DS1 pedal. So in the Stadium Arcadium era, John used the DS2 most commonly, but it seems as though he's moved to the DS1 for the Unlimited Love record. The Boss DS1 was used pretty commonly by a lot of punk and grunge bands in the 90s, and I'm a huge fan of Nirvana, and Kurt Cobain used this pedal fairly extensively as well. It's important to note that there's two guitars in this track, so there's one in the left ear, one in the right ear, and they're mimicking each other all the way through the song until we get to the final 16 bars of the solo where they split off and do different things. If you'd like to know more about how I mix the guitars, I did a full mix breakdown of Here Ever After, and I'll leave the video in the description below. So let's get into the song. Today I'm going to break up the tutorial into 4 parts, so we have the introduction and the interlude, the verses, the choruses, and also the guitar solo. So let's start with the introduction and the interlude. So this song is in G natural minor, and unlike the other songs we've covered so far, it doesn't change during the entire song. So everything we do today will be in G natural minor. So the opening riff, which is played in the introduction and in the interlude, is just a riff in G minor that's played all on the lower E string. As we move into the verse, there's this slide thing. I'm not even sure what to call it. But basically, you take the pick, you turn it on its side, rest it on the bottom 2 or 3 strings, and slide it up the guitar neck. There's a few ways to change the sound of this as you do it. One is as you're moving the pick up the neck, the notes are going to change. The other way you can manipulate the fundamental note is by using your left hand. So as you move the left hand down, the notes will change because the distance from your fretting hand and the pick is going to get bigger. So I notice when John plays this live, he mostly starts on the G and then moves to the F and then slides up the neck with his fretting hand. So just play around with it until you get a sound that you like. It's just meant to sound chaotic. There's no one perfect way to do it. Just keep in mind your pick is probably going to take a beating when you're sliding it along the strings. So maybe don't use a pick that you paid a lot of money for because it's going to get ruined. So in the verse, we have this super fun riff, and the overarching chord progression is G minor, followed by E flat major, back to G minor, and then C minor. It sort of sounds like going inside. So when we're playing this riff, it's important to know where the chord change parts are so that we can pay attention to the harmonic content. That's where a lot of tabs that I've seen fall down for this song. So we have that's our E flat major. And that's our C minor. So I'll play that again so you get a better picture. This second half of the riff, as we slide up, we're going to add that E flat on the bottom. So it's not played like this. I've seen one tab say that. It's not played with no harmonic content. There's definitely an E flat in the bottom. So one technique that you'll have to learn in order to play that part well is what's commonly known as funk guitar muting. So this is very common in funk and disco music, as the name suggests. Nile Rodgers is a guitarist to pay attention to master this technique. But we also see it in rock and blues music. Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, and John Frusciante all use it very commonly. What it gives you is the ability to use the guitar as a more percussive instrument. The easiest way to get started is to just take your index finger as if you were playing a bar chord, except instead of fretting the notes and pushing down on the strings, just rest them lightly so that all of them are muted. Then take another finger and fret the note so that only one note is ringing out. You can do this with multiple notes. That's the easiest shape to get started and get used to the technique. Another shape that I most commonly use is the Jimi Hendrix bar chord shape. So we're playing two notes here. Then we can relax these two fingers until they're resting on top of all of the other strings. And then wrap our thumb around the neck to mute the bottom E string. So again. So there are some variations on the riff as we get into the other verses. So for example, the first half of the riff, we start introducing a slide in the second verse. So we're sliding up from the 3rd to the 5th fret, and then quickly back down to that E flat interval. I did see someone play it as a bend, but you can very clearly hear that's not the case in the original song. The second half of the riff changes a little bit by starting on that run down from the F rather than the D. So notice I'm using that mute picking technique on those top notes. And then we have that little trill to finish off. chorus is actually very similar to the verse. We're starting on a B flat, and then this melodic line is actually the same as the verse. It's the same thing, it's just played higher up the neck. Because it's more comfortable to play there where the B flat is, it also gives a bit more of a mellow tone on the lower strings to play the same notes. So then we have an F major, followed by an E flat major. And don't forget to slide between those two. I'm playing with that muted technique there as well, where I'm muting the lower E string with my thumb. So this repeats 3 times, except the second time around, the harmonic content changes a little bit. So instead of just playing major thirds, second time around, we move to a power chord. So it's still an E flat chord progression, but instead of playing the major third, we're now playing the 5th. And that gives us that power chord sounding shape. It's a subtle difference, but an important one. The last time around on the chorus, we have a B flat power chord, and then a C power chord, before moving back to the verse. So there's a few small variations in the chorus as the song progresses, the first being that little hammer-on between the parts. So there, I like to use my thumb to hit the B flat. And now before the interlude and the guitar solo, instead of that C power chord, we have a run just on the G minor scale heading into the solo. Or so there isn't a lot to say about the guitar solo other than it's in G natural minor and John uses a lot of tension notes. So I would be using the entire minor scale if you're going to improvise over the solo. The bass in this section is playing over only the G minor pentatonic scale, and that means you can solo over pretty much any scale you want that relates to G minor, and it's going to sound really good. Okay, so that's it for today's video. Hope you learned something. I'll see you very shortly for the next cover, which is going to be Veronica, and I'm also really excited for the new album. So I'll catch you all soon. Bye.